This is section 1.6 part 3, where we're still looking at solving and graphing inequalities. And in this part we're going to look at how to solve an inequality that has a variable on one side of the inequality, and then we're also going to look at how to solve an inequality where there's a variable on both sides of the symbol. So we're first going to start here with letter A, variable on one side, and I have a problem up here for us. It says 8 plus 5 halves d is less than or equal to 18. Alright, so as I said in the previous video, solving an inequality is very similar to solving an equation. Alright, where we want to isolate our variable, we want to get our variable alone. So the variable we're interested in is d. Alright, so we want to get d all by itself. So just as we did with equations, alright, I'm going to start with this 8, and I'm going to want to move it to the other side. And what I do to one side of the inequality, I'm going to do to the other side to make sure it's balanced. So I've got a positive 8, so I want to cancel it out, so I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides of this inequality. 8 minus 8 is 0, so that cancels, and I'm left with 5 halves. D is less than or equal to 10. Next, I want to detach this fraction 5 halves from the letter d. And if you remember, we can see it's attached to multiplication. So we can either divide or multiply by the reciprocal. It's the same thing. I prefer to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 5 halves is 2/5. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2/5. And here the 2's cancel, as well as the 5's. So we now have just d left on the left side of the inequality symbol. So we've got d is less than or equal to, let's simplify the right hand side. So I'm going to put 10 over 1, so I have two fractions, and we can do some cross simplification. 5 goes into 10 twice, and 5 goes into itself once. So I've got 2 over 1 times 2 over 1, or 2 times 2, which is 4. So we can see d is less than or equal to 4. Alright, next we want to graph. Alright, so I'm going to make a number line over here on the right side. And I'm going to put 4 right in the middle, increase by 1s, so 5 and 6, and then decrease by 1s as well. So I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so we've got d is less than or equal to 4, less than or equal to, tells me I have a closed circle. Variables on the left-hand side, so I can listen to the arrow that's pointing. Alright, so this is telling me to point left, and I've shaded. Alright, so I've shaded all numbers less than or equal to 4. So is 2 less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. Alright, so we know we've done it correctly. Next, we're going to go on to letter B. And we're going to look at solving an inequality with variables on both sides. And our inequality is negative 4x plus 3 is less than x minus 2. So I want to make sure I'm going to combine like terms. So I can see I've got negative 4x here. So I want to find another term that also has an x, and that's just x here. So I want to combine those. Oops, make sure I'm in green. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. Alright, I'm going to move the x from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. So x minus x is 0. So I'm just left with negative 2 on the right-hand side. Negative 4x minus x is negative 5x plus 3. So since I've moved the variable from the right side to the left, I need to move the constant from the left to the right. So I'm going to now subtract 3 from both sides. And I have negative 5x is less than negative 5. The last thing I need to do is detach the negative 5 from x. It's connected through multiplication, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. And I have x is greater than 1. So what just happened there? Alright, these canceled. Alright, what happened is I divided by a negative. All right, and so I said when you solve an inequality, it's pretty much like solving an equation. But the big difference is whenever you divide or multiply by a negative, you must flip your inequality symbol. So I'm going to put that little note up here because it's pretty important. So you're going to flip your inequality symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative. So if you multiply both sides by a negative, which typically is done when you multiply by the reciprocal, or if you divide both sides by the negative, all right, you're going to flip your inequality symbol. All right, so our answer here is x is greater than 1. All right, so let's graph it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, go down to 0, and negative 1. So we've got x is greater than 1, so we know it's an open circle at 1. Variables on the left-hand side, so I can listen to the direction the arrow is pointing. So I'm going to shade to the right, or I'm going to shade all numbers greater than 1 in that direction. So if you plug in a variable, or plug in another number that's shaded, such as 3, 3 is greater than 1, that is correct, and it's part of the shading.